On to week 3. We are getting into the depths of the college fantasy football season, and this is when it matters. A crucial week for making those roster pivots. Maybe you're 0-2, maybe you're 1-1, even if you're 2-0. Hitting the waiver wire this week could be the difference to winning that college fantasy football championship. That's why me and John are here. We have 10 players that are most likely available on your waiver wire. We're not just picking the easy ones here. John, big week last week. We told folks to go get Beau, go get AJ Swan, go get Quan Lacey, go get Jace Brown. Those are just a couple off the top here. Gunnar Stockton, all good college fantasy football weeks. We're reloaded. We've got another 10. We're starting here at the quarterback position. You've identified Evan Simon out of Temple.
Matt, when I woke up and I looked at the numbers, he is CFF quarterback 10 after 2 weeks. Now, a little bit depends on scoring. So let's say he's at least in the top 15, no matter how you look at it. But my scoring, it's top 10. He's a very efficient passer, Matt. 77% completion rate. He has 9 passing touchdowns in 2 games. Matt, sometimes doesn't matter what you thought about the team, what you thought about the player. You have to be open-minded about what you are seeing on the field. Last year, I started to notice Evan Simon against East Carolina and Tulsa sometime in late October, and I was impressed, but the Owls weren't very good. But he started off this year good. Now, he has a tough 2 games right now coming up. Oklahoma at home. They just beat Michigan. And Georgia Tech on the way. I don't really know if Georgia Tech's a good defense, but for the Owls going on the road, that might be a tough spot. But then you have a bye. And Matt, you talked about looking ahead. When you're in the 2 quarterback leagues of bye weeks coming up with injuries are going to occur, starting October 2nd, Matt, he has the American Conference schedule. It is so tasty. And Temple's going to continue to be successful offensively. I like Evan Simon.
All right. Make sure you are liking the video, dropping us questions in the comments. You can ask us those start sits throughout the week. John, I noticed in the comments last week, a couple folks said, hey, why don't you guys do plays of the week or start sits? Well, good news. You can head to the link in the episode description, patreon.com/rookiebigboard. And we do a plays of the week video just for our patrons. We had another great week last week, John. We gave out some really nice plays. We have an awesome hit rate through the first 2 weeks. So if you want a double dose of CFF action, the link is in the episode description. Next up here, though, is Darien Mensah. And I'm glad that we're identifying him, John, because I think on the surface, folks who watched this game may have seen that final score. It looked like a big blowout, but Duke was in it, and Mensah himself looked really good.
Duke was absolutely in this game, Matt. It was one of the good 12 o'clock games. We had a lot of good ones yesterday. And we have to go back. He impressed me last year at Tulane, Matt. He had 22 touchdowns and over 2,700 yards. And he kind of took, he went into the portal, and he ended up on the Duke campus. In the first 2 games this year, he has thrown the ball 34 times in each match. Duke is going to throw the ball all around the yard, and I'll take a quarterback with that type of volume. And he was impressive against Illinois. You can look at the loss, but he threw for 334 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Matt, sometimes when you watch the game, this is why context matters. He played even better than the final numbers. By the end of the game, I just think Illinois' defense has started to physically begin to dominate Duke's offensive line in the overall game. But Mensah stayed in there. Mensah kept battling. And in the next 3 games, Matt, these are tasty. Tulane, North Carolina State, and Syracuse. Those look all very interesting games.
Absolutely. And that's important to keep in mind, right? We're in week 3. We're going to start on these shows really emphasizing matchups. And that's why we're with you all season long. We don't just fire out a couple at the beginning of the season. We're paying attention to matchups and helping you win week by week at this point. Next up here, I'm going to go to Boston College. I was impressed watching Dylan Lonergan against Michigan State. So 37.1 fantasy points per game so far, John, per game. It's really clicking in this Bill O'Brien system. And I think the important thing is you think BC, right, in your head, and you're thinking run, run, run. It's a different offense this year, and it's because they're willing to trust Lonergan with the passing attack. 8 touchdowns through the first 2 weeks, 0 interceptions. Yes, they played a layup FCS team week 1, but they played a good Michigan State team week 2, right?
On the road, Matt.
Yeah, in a tough environment, right? And so that does balance out that Fordham game week 1. John, next week, Stanford gets a bye. Cal, Pitt, even Clemson, their passing defense is rated 58th in the country at this point. The ACC is known for high-flying quarterbacks. I think this is going to be, 300 yards, 3+ touchdowns a week is a realistic projection here. So I'm really excited about him, and I think you can get him on a lower level. I'm not seeing his name out there a lot at this point in time. I'm willing to lean into it. But John, let's go ahead. Let's pivot to the running back position here. And you've identified Jamari Taylor, and I like this. I got to tell you, watching Virginia over the first 2 weeks, I've been pretty impressed with their offense overall compared to what we've seen the last couple seasons.
I have also, and maybe the ACC is going to be a little bit more offensive than I originally thought over the summer. Maybe the defenses aren't so good, and maybe some of these young players are starting to make an impact. Now, Jamari Taylor, transfer from North Carolina Central. That's an FCS program. He's an older back, Matt. He came onto the college scene in COVID in 2020, and he played there until 2024. And last year, he had 1,146 yards rushing. He's 5'9" and 204 pounds. Matt, he is not small. He is a power runner with low center of gravity. This is what I love in the stats, Matt. He averages 6.3 yards after contact. I mean, this man is tough to bring down, and he's their short yardage goal line back. He has 9 first downs for the Cavaliers, and this is what we love, 5 rushing touchdowns in 2 games. Obviously, I don't think that number will hold throughout the season. But, Matt, the role is there, and if you're getting 1 or 2 touchdowns almost every week in short yardage, I'll take it. I like this young man.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we pivot to the next running back here, Miles Davis out of Utah State, I wanted to point out, I think this is the toughest position on the waiver wire right now. I think running back feels very thin. And so hitting on a couple of these guys could be really critical. And by the way, John, I've got it in the picture. The Utah State helmets from week 1 are just so cool. It's, they're the Aggies. It's like cow helmets.
I see it now. That's cool, dude.
I had to make sure that was the picture we used. But tell me about Miles Davis.
So first what you have to know is he's a pass-catching back. It's pretty clear. And he does have more value in PPR formats. So I do think people in PPR formats, and most are going to be running to the waiver wire. But Matt, what makes him tantalizing? He qualifies at running back and wide receiver on Fantrax. So he gives you a lot of starting lineup options when bye weeks come up in the near future. I love that in my players because we also have flex positions. Out of the backfield, he has 9 targets, and he's turned them into 9 catches for 70 yards and 2 touchdowns. But on the ground, Matt, he's got 22 carries for 139 yards and 6.3 yards per carry. Eventually, Matt, production on the field provides more opportunity. Miles Davis is one of those guys who's going to get more opportunity because he's successful. And look at the next 2 weeks, Matt. Air Force and McNee. I mean, this young man, he's definitely worth picking up in PPR leagues.
All right, one more running back here for you. I've got Quinton Jackson out of Rice. If you're not familiar with Rice, running a new offense this year with new head coach Scott Abel coming over from Davidson, where he ran. It's almost a quasi like Army-like offense. It's not a full triple option, but it's a little bit in that tree, that scheme. And the reason I'm pointing that out is Jackson's not the only running back in this offense, but he does have 37 touches on the ground.
That's nice.
Yeah, through the first 2 weeks. And that's equaled almost 16 fantasy points per game. So it doesn't maybe pop when you're searching on your waiver wire, but dig in a little bit deeper. It's a bargain bin option. I think you can pay down for this. But Prairie View A&M, UNC Charlotte, Navy, Florida Atlantic, UTSA, Rice is going to be running the ball all season long. Jackson's going to be a key piece of it. You could probably get away with a $0 bid or a 5% or less bid and add a nice running back onto the depth of your roster. This next guy, John, going to the wide receiver position, you're going to have to pay up a little bit more for. I think this is going to be a big name on the waiver wire this week, and that's Hank Beatty, Illinois, who we now know is the Illinois X receiver. He's the top guy in that offense.
Yeah, and I was thinking, like, what is his value? Because he's clearly before this week was basically an unknown. But when I went to the PFF database earlier this morning, Matt, do you know right now, after 2 weeks, he is the number 1 graded wide receiver by Pro Football Focus. And we can agree or you can disagree with PFF. But the reality is they have a system that's uniform, and he's the number 1 guy. Now, in terms of fantasy, Matt, he's CFF wide receiver 21 with 45.1 fantasy points. He's 5'11", 185-pound senior, and he's a 5th year in the Illini program. This is incredible. 13 receptions on 14 targets. Yep. You put the ball in his hands, he catches it. He has 236 yards receiving, averaging 18.2 yards per catch. And last week, if you watched the game like Matt and I were watching a little bit with Duke, Illinois, he had a 25-yard rushing touchdown. And here's what's important, especially in the Tadpole League, people. I think he might be the most expensive waiver wire option out there. He's a special teamer. 4 kick returns for 133 yards, which is bonus points and a touchdown. Matt, I'm impressed with Illinois right now. As long as Luke Altmaier's slinging the football, Hank Beatty is worth putting into your lineup.
Yeah, the same thing that I mentioned with Boston College. Get this idea of a run-only offense out of your head with Illinois as well. All right, John, we're going to go back to Texas State. I think we're a Texas State show at this point, man. We're talking Brad Jackson. We were talking Lincoln Pear last week, and now we're talking Beau Sparks. We just can't get enough of this DJ Kinney offense.
Hey, they have a great triplet, right? A great coach in GJ Kinney. We love that offense, Matt. You know, right now, Beau Sparks is CFF wide receiver number 1 with 65.7 fantasy points. Matt, he's being peppered with targets. 5'11", 177-pound junior. He is on the 2025 Earl Campbell Tyler Rose Award watch list. And so far, he's got 12 catches on 17 targets for 237 yards and 5 touchdowns. As long as this offense is going to be slinging the football this much, I'm all in. I like Brad Jackson. We featured him on these shows before. Go get Beau Sparks while he's still available, everyone.
I love it. John, I got to tell you, one of the really cool things about this season in particular, the Discord is way more active with college fantasy football questions in the start sit. And I got some Romello Brinson questions last week. So another big perk of being a Rookie Big Board patron, you get to get in the Discord. You can ask that personalized advice. I'm checking that thing 24/7. Trust me on that. Again, the link to join is in the episode description. Romello Brinson out of SMU. What a game that was against Baylor. But he's showed out the first 2 weeks of the season, 53.7 fantasy points. I love it. Not only has he gotten 13 targets, he's converting on them, 11 receptions. You convert early in the season, you get the trust in your quarterback. Those targets are going to keep coming. 3 receiving touchdowns, 2 this past week, 1 the week before, 22.5 yards per reception. Absolutely love that number there for Romello Brinson in an offense you know is going to continue to air it out. And John, this week, we got a tight end too. All right. I'm excited about this one. We don't always have a tight end. We don't force the pick, but we have a tight end this week. I want to talk Dorian Fleming out of the University of Maryland. I've been watching Maryland's first 2 games closely because I'm very high on Malik Washington from a Devy perspective, their freshman quarterback.
Pretty impressive.
He really has. He really has been impressive. And he's got live arm strength. And it's clear to me that Dorian Fleming is his favorite target. He's athletic, he's got sure hands, and he's averaging 16.3 fantasy points per game, 10 receptions on 15 targets. He's got 106 receiving yards. That might not sound the most exciting, but we're talking about a tight end here, folks. And here's the key when you're looking for a fantasy tight end: a touchdown in each of his first 2 games. Maryland's going to get to the point where they need to throw the ball a lot more than they have the first couple games against FCS opponent and then Northern Illinois. Look for Fleming to be a key piece of this offense, 6-7 targets a game. He should be on your waiver wire. And if you need a tight end, I'm willing to push up my spending a little bit here to make sure that I can get one like Fleming, who is going to produce points each and every week. But John, we are producing picks each and every week, helping folks on the waiver wire. If you've got those start sit questions, drop them in the comments. You can head on over to the Discord and you get those instant answers to your start sit. You want the plays of the week video? Again, head on over to the Discord. Link is in the episode description. But John, we are on to week 3, and we're on to another week of victories for all of our viewers.